It's not a Tuesday news day. I am Adventure Argonaut, and these are the golden news. I will go through some significant news from the week, from past week. But first, let's see that the streams are working, as is the norm. Twitch and Kick are fine. I think it also applies. And that's my son, if you can hear him. He thinks he has much more pressing news to tell me. It's very important news, but well, the first news of the week is, of course, that Trump won the election, and don't ask me why the AI chose to put a Super Nintendo controller in his hands. I didn't tell it to do it, and also, yeah, it looks more like Colonel Sanders than Trump, but it's difficult to generate that particular person with AI, since there are all sorts of censorship checks and balances. But let's get to the story. There's many different stories relating to his victory, of course, and I cannot cover every single one, but I picked up some here and there. So first is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the Trump administration will change the personnel of public health agencies on day one, and if we can't fire them, we can ship them to a new HHS headquarters in Guam. And here he is using Chad face. Of course, there are some rumors that maybe Trump is not going to hire RFK to his administration, which would be a bad thing if he doesn't hire him. But we will see. He's not inaugurated yet, so there are all sorts of stories, some good, some bad, about what he will do or won't do. But I'm just going to report on some of these things. So then there's this. I guess we can listen to it.
Fifth, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This should include a right to digital due process. In other words, government officials should need a court order to take down online content, not send information requests such as the FBI was sending to Twitter. Furthermore, when users of big online platforms have their content or accounts removed, throttled, shadow banned, or otherwise restricted, no matter what name they use, they should have the right to be informed that it's happening, the right to a specific explanation of the reason why, and the right to a timely appeal. Fifth, the time.
Yeah, so basically he's supposedly going to start a digital Bill of Rights, which sounds like a really good thing if it's actually works, and he's gonna do it. It's like, even I remember I used to have a blog like many years ago. I wrote about my philosophical ideas and social issues and some politics and even history at times, and I got banned. I was discussing one current issue. I don't want to go mention the specifics, but I got banned without any specific explanation why, like my whole blog and stuff. But I was getting tired of it anyways. But this is really good news if he's gonna do it. And then there's this longer video, but it's too long. I don't want to play the whole thing, but I can. This guy is summarizing the plan to dismantle the deep state, and I really wish he would do it this time. I have some doubts, but he promised it already during his first term or before it started, but he didn't do it. But hey, maybe he tried and he wasn't powerful enough, but maybe this time we'll see. Anyways, immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats. Sure, that sounds good. Clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus. Yeah, that sounds good too. totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they're lied to in warrant applications. Sounds good. Expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart. Yeah, sure. It's just a bit generic way of like you could interpret this in many ways. Launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave uh, weave false narratives, I guess, and to subvert our government or democracy. Sure, I guess that's good too. Make every inspector general's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee, so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Yeah, fine. Ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure that they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns against American people, or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign. That's good. Like me not being an American, I would like them to, stop spying on me or running disinformation campaigns against me as well. But at least this is a step in the right direction. Continue the effort launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp. Um, yeah, I guess. So it's not only in the Washington, like the bureaucracy, because I think was it something like 92, 95% of people in Washington D.C. voted for Kamala. So clearly the population of Washington D.C. like their political views differ quite a lot from the rest of the country. Work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and they regulate. Yes, that sounds very good. Yeah, like big pharma going between government, health agencies and big pharma companies and stuff like that. Push a constitutional amendment to oppose term limits on members of Congress. Yeah, good, good. Well, it is ridiculous. Like how many years was Joe Biden was a senator, and probably longer than I've been alive. I'm not sure how long, but anyways, let's move on. There's lots of stuff to go through. Um, and this is just the TDS suffering, Trump derangement syndrome suffering people are going. Well, they're basically doing all the stuff they've been doing before or saying. If you want to fight Trump, the most effective thing to do is fuck up Musk as hard as and as soon as possible within all legal limits of the law, the Constitution, and rules of war. Rules of war. Okay, like okay, this is sort of like yeah, sure they are politically opposed, so this makes sense. But then he says this: revoke his citizenship, declare him an enemy combatant, indict him, seize his companies, nationalize Starlink, whatever can be done, do it now. This is like a bit overboard, like within the limits of the law, like. Like at least Elon Musk is there legally, and if he had broken laws and stuff, they surely they can use the law against him. But like Democrats, of course, they're all for illegal immigrants. Like yeah, they can stay, but not Elon Musk. And hey, I'm not some huge fan of Elon Musk or anything, or like when I say Trump derangement syndrome, it's not like if you criticize Trump, doesn't mean that you have Trump derangement syndrome. It's the if it's you if you irrationally invent all sorts of stuff. Such many many of these far leftists they invent their head canon literally makes Trump into some sort of magician Hitler beyond time and space. And yeah, there's just this we did it Joe because Joe Biden made a speech about how he said that there's going to be a timely transfer of power between the administrations, and he seemed genuinely happy that Trump won. So I and he was more coherent than usually. He didn't stammer, he didn't shit himself or fall down or anything. So people are saying that, hey, maybe he was faking it all along. Maybe it was a long con. Maybe they were working together, and I don't know, but personally, I just think that already back, 4 years ago, I thought that Biden really didn't want to become president. He was sort of forced by the Democratic Party or the Democrat Party because they had nobody else really to use as the face of the administration. So they forced him into it, and so that's my 2 cents on it. Anyways, but then there's stuff like this. Some people are saying that Donald Trump's pro-Israel cabinet thread. So he has Trump has selected rabid Zionist I guess he's Republican, right, or representative rep. Anyways, Elise Stefanik as the next UN ambassador. I have no idea who she is, but apparently she is a Zionist. Trump is considering a pro-Israel bootlegger Senator Marco Rubio for Secretary of State. Yeah, I don't know. At least I know who is Marco Rubio, but I don't know a great deal about him. But isn't he sort of like a rhino and apparently a Zionist? And I guess he's representative rep. Okay. Well, yeah, yeah, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, Trump has selected Zionist former Congressman Lee Zeldin to lead the Environmental Protection Agency. Never heard about him before, but supposedly he's a Zionist and paid by APAC. Trump has selected AIPAC approved Representative Mike Waltz to serve as his national security advisor. And apparently, he's also paid by AIPAC, according to this account at least. Trump allies are backing AIPAC stooge Rick Scott for Senate majority. So I don't know about him either. And Trump has selected South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem as his Secretary of Homeland Security. She recently signed a bill into law that conflates criticism of Israel with anti Semitism. Just imagine, like, if you were to criticize the policies of Spain, and you would be the law would say like, oh, you are racist against Spanish or Hispanic people, or something. It's weird, like it's insane and weird. Okay, this is yeah, sign by Biden's cabinet, but let's move on. Oh yeah, and Mudeng, this cute hippo from Thailand, pygmy hippo, Mudeng. Just before the election, they did some test that they gave him two fruit cakes or whatever. One of them said Kamala Harris, the other one said Donald Trump, and he ate the cake that said Trump, so therefore predicting that Trump would win. And now supposedly, some lefties are hate this hippo because beforehand everybody loved it, and of course the hippo is very cute and looks like my son. But I don't know how genuinely, like how many people truly are angry at the hippo for choosing Trump. Like maybe some are memeing, but some probably are legit because there are lots of crazy and deluded people in the world. And here it says breaking: Donald Trump's name was just removed from the Ukrainian government's official kill list. So he actually, okay, first, like the Ukrainian government has a kill list and a public kill list. Like I can imagine that the US government has a few kill lists, but like well, yeah, I guess during the Iraq invasion and stuff. Like, yeah, no, wasn't for it definitely, but at least it made more sense. But anyway, so Trump's name was on it, and now they're taking it away. It's like it doesn't look good for Ukraine still. Like, yeah, I really do hope that Trump leaves them hung out to dry and stuff. So yeah. Trump was added to Morovdvorech over his comments on Crimea. He has since been removed. Okay. So I guess, yeah, he was on the list or something. Okay, and according to Drama Alert, I don't know how reliable sources this is. Trump's team plans to release Epstein and Diddy's client lists. Like this would be huge, huge if he actually does that. I have my doubts, but I really, just my advice to Americans: you should pressure, Trump and the Republicans and everybody, keep pressuring that, these are the stuff that you really care about. These are the stuff that American people care about because they should care about it. This sort of stuff is important, so they should keep pressuring because I do think, there are other factions pressuring the politicians and the lawmakers not to release these lists. So the people need to pressure them to, so they actually will get released, and the people on the lists will be investigated and hopefully guillotined or something. And here is from Kamala's concession speech, a squirrel. Yeah, squirrel ran there. Yeah, yeah. So this is like very symbolic because just a week, no less than a week before, I guess there was Peanut, the squirrel, and also the raccoon, Fred the raccoon, that were killed by the New York authorities. The pet squirrel and raccoon. So this is very symbolic, like the spirit, the squirrel energy was on the side or on the red side during the election. And here it's showing that, yeah, you squirrel killers, you deserve to lose. And so this is just the NSNBC news. Trump mass deportation is an attempt to keep a white majority in America. Like this guy points out, Hitler. This is really just a tacit admission that replacing white people was their goal all along. Is that the last one? Yeah, no, there's still some. Yeah, so no argument there. Like that's clearly their plan. Like you just should ask why. Why do they want to do it? And also, they want to do similar stuff in Europe. And unrelated, but it's like yeah. So here it says like shows like the religion of the people who voted for Trump or Kamala. So like Protestant 62% for Trump, Catholic 56% for Trump, Jewish 21%. So 79% of Jews voted for Kamala, not Trump. And it is weird because Trump has been really pro Israel and also pro Jewish people, but they don't seem to be for him. It's like I do think he should reconsider his priorities, like who are his like his base supporters and so on. And yeah, this is just the same news. 79% of Jews voted for Kamala Harris. And what was this? Oh yeah. So this is the Democrat votes during this millennium. 2004, 59 million. 2008, 69 million. Okay, so this was John Kerry, and then Obama, 69 million, and then Obama again, 65 million, and then Hillary Clinton, 65 million, and Joe Biden, 81 million, and now again Kamala Harris, 64 million. So where did the 15 million votes go? Like, are we allowed to say that there was there was shenanigans in the election? Are we allowed to say it already, like on social media and stuff? In 2020, like it's probably wasn't the only election with shenanigans, but that was the hey Agent Double Hertz, welcome back. And then there are of course rumor or stories of people offing themselves because of Trump's victory. I even saw some article, but I couldn't find it again, about like some father who got rid of his wife, and was it also ex, and their children because of Trump's victory. Like I don't know if that was the reason why he did it or not. Like it's always difficult to say. Like I've seen few accounts on Twitter say that they know people who off themselves because of Trump's victory, but it's just goes to show like how brainwashed these people are, and it's very evil to manipulate them to this extent, because it's completely ridiculous, because some of these people actually think that now that Donald Trump has won again, he's gonna send gay people to death camps or something. It's completely ridiculous. Like, it is conceivable that Trump might be a disaster for America or the world or something, but that will be for completely different reasons if that is the case. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but it's, theoretically it is possible, but he won't be doing what they sort of want him to do. Like it's like some masochistic fetish almost, that they want him to be the boogeyman that they see him as, and are unable to perceive reality in any reasonable sense. Oh yeah, I think this wasn't the last Trump story. So yeah, internal messages obtained by the Daily Wire show a FEMA official ordered relief workers in Florida not to help houses with Trump signs. So yeah, there were some. Was it a month or two ago? There were some, natural disasters, I think a few places in America. And if this is true, they ordered the FEMA officials not to help Trump supporters. This is, insane. And, then you see that now some lefties and Democrats saying like, "Oh yes, you won, good show, old chap," and but yeah, let's stay civil. Like, no, you should, these people actually want you dead, so you should act accordingly. Okay, let's move on to the next story, because um, Musk's New World Order. Elon Musk, because he tweeted this thing: Novus Ordo Seclorum. This is, of course, well, it's on the US dollar, right? But it's New Order of the Ages, Latin, but it's sort of translated as New World Order. And it's sort of, I don't know what Elon Musk means by it, but it's sort of tone deaf or ominous, in my opinion. I don't know what he meant, but because it is all sorts of, the term is associated all sorts of with Illuminati conspiracy theories and stuff, but and I don't think, like, well, the Illuminati did exist like 300 years ago or something, but officially it was banned by the authorities back then. But of course, yeah, but I don't think an organization like that exists nowadays. But certainly all sorts of think tanks and NGOs and stuff like that, globally they cooperate and push agendas, whether it's LGBT or Trump bad or whatever it is, or climate change or whatever, WEF and all of these organizations, they certainly exist. And New World Order, I think, is maybe most famously Ronald Reagan used it back in the day, and many these globalist bureaucrats have used the term themselves. So it's not like some baseless conspiracy theory, the term itself, but of course people can mean different things by it. Yeah, let's annuit coeptis novus ordo seclorum. So what's the annuit coeptis? So yeah, novus ordo seclorum is the New Order of the Ages, yes. And then there's Annuit Coeptis, however is supposed to be pronounced. Not so it's Coeptis, Coeptis, no, not sure. Literal translation is he favors or has favored our undertakings, but this standard translations are Providence favors our undertakings. But anyway, so this is associated with all this New World Order stuff. So it's like Elon Musk could mean that now that the woke or liberal global order is defeated, now it's like a normal, more sane kind of world order. He could be meaning that, but then again, he might be meaning something completely different, like maybe the true globalist order will take place now that this weak woke one has been defeated. I don't know, but I don't think it's at best a tone death, because people will I've seen many people comment on it about Twitter and then are a bit concerned. And somebody, yeah, here it says the guy building brain chips, robots, and Skynet just dog whistled the new world order, and everybody in the comments is clapping like a bunch of seals. Exactly, like it is concerning. Like, okay, it's just a phrase he used, but what does he mean by it? I'd like to hear him say it, explain it. Let's move on to the next story. Okay, I wanna comment on it still, because it's sort of like these tone deaf things, like Mr. Beast calling himself Mr. Beast, because for me it's like, okay, it's the beast from the Book of Revelations. It's like, maybe I'm old, but like there's these some things that maybe you should avoid from using certain terms that people are likely to interpret in a very negative sense, unless you mean them in the sense that people are interpreting them. Okay. So the German government has collapsed. I think it was just a day or 2 days after. Yeah, I think day after Trump's victory was announced. So I wonder if there's a connection between the U.S. election results and the collapse of the German government. Um, Here it says that. Germany's governing coalition has collapsed after disagreements over the country's weak economy led Chancellor Olaf Scholz to sack his finance minister. So I guess it's, yeah, because of economic problems. Well, yeah, they've been doing all sorts of stupid lefty stuff, like they got rid of their nuclear power plants. Then, hey, personally, I'm not convinced that nuclear power is the best solution. But once we are before we have it, because I believe, maybe I'm idealistic, but I do believe that when there's a will, there's a way, and the rules of the physical world are very permissive when human ingenuity is allowed to flourish. So whether it's cold fusion or some Nikola Tesla style free energy stuff, I do think that's theoretically possible. But of course, nowadays I think both sides, from the financial side and the political side, those kind of things are not desirable, because, well, financially, like let's say you could generate free energy. Of course, the power companies, your electricity companies, might go out of business or something. You couldn't make money of it, if it was free, unlimited energy, or like and of course the lefties will think everything is bad and causes climate change or whatever, if it's, I don't know, something that might actually help humanity. But yeah, uh, let's just move on to the next story. I don't have much other insight about this, because I don't know so much about the causes of that. That of course, yeah, Germany hasn't been doing financially so well because of stupid policies, and of course, I guess the Ukraine war and everything. and the pipeline getting blown, and yeah. Anyway, so this is possibly the biggest news of, I don't know, the freaking decade or something, if this is true. I don't know, but anyway, so COVID was supposedly a NATO military operation, and there's a Dutch government official who said it. So, a top Dutch government official has admitted that the COVID was a military operation and revealed that her nation was taking orders from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization NATO during the pandemic. Dutch Health Minister Fleur Agema has revealed that the military operation was led by NATO and the Netherlands National Coordinators for Security and Counter-Terrorism, NCTV. Like, this sounds, NCTV sounds like a news channel, North Korea television or something. I don't think that's a good name for a national security agency, but or acronym or whatever. But yeah, so this, how do, what does it mean that NATO was, um, like it was a NATO operation? If she dies, maybe it's true. Yeah, the good point. Um, because it's like, well, here's an article, but before I start reading it, because like for me, when I saw this news a couple of days ago, I got like three different scenarios popped into my mind, like three possibilities. One is that COVID itself was some, bioweapon spread by NATO for whatever political reasons. One of them would be probably the 2020 election. And the second one is that, it was a bioweapon from China or whatever, and NATO was organizing the stuff to protect people against the bioweapon. Or three, there was no COVID, or, there was no virus, or the virus was just, nothing significant. So in other words, it was just propaganda to manipulate people to follow their agenda. So, maybe I'm misunderstanding something, and maybe there's other possibilities, but that's how I saw it. Like, it should be one of those things. But anyway, let's read into this article. Because, like I said, this is one of the biggest news in, I don't know, since whenever, if she is telling the truth. Yeah, like I would like to hear from like other European nations, NATO countries, if they have had similar experiences. Anyways, a top Dutch government official has admitted that the COVID was a military operation and revealed that her nation was taking orders from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization during the pandemic. Dutch Health Minister Fleur Agema, or Agema, not sure how to pronounce, has revealed that the military operation was led by NATO and the Netherlands National Coordination for Security and Counterterrorism, NCTV. The NCTV is a Dutch government agency that serves the country's national security. During a speech in the Dutch parliament, Agema acknowledged in parliament that the Dutch pandemic policy is taking place under the direction of National Coordinator for Security and Counterterrorism and Defense. Yeah. It's like, I'm just wondering, like, why is it national security and counterterrorism unless it was terrorism or act of war or something? But if it was just some virus that happened to spread, why go to these lengths? She noted that the government responded to the pandemic by complying with NATO obligations. Yeah, like what does NATO? They're not they're not the World Health Organization, even though, like, I guess I would trust NATO over World Health Organizations in issues of health, but uh, still, it should be none of their business. Anyway, in doing so, she confirmed that the pandemic policy was a coup d'état by the NCTV. That's a big admission. The prominent Dutch Dr. Els van Veen says she finally understands what happened to her and the other critical doctors during the corona crisis. Oh, corona. In the early days of 2020, everybody used to say corona, but then it became COVID. And, anyways, it was a military operation. The Minister of Health obeys NATO, and NCTV Dr. Van Veen said in a post on X. On Thursday, 24th October, Flor Ajema had a first. She was the very first health minister in our parliamentary history to explain her actions by NATO obligations, and not once but six times as a member of parliament. Pepin van der Hovelingen did a 3-minute video in which Ajema tells the chamber that pandemic preparedness is related to treaty obligations that the intelligence service NCTV is in charge went viral on X. Van Hovelingen immediately promised to answer chamber questions. Jima made her remarks during a debate on resilience. Okay, this is sort of nonsense. I don't know what they're getting at. She said the Netherlands must be prepared for any kind of disaster, such as hybrid threats, military threats, natural disasters, and a new pandemic. A substantial strengthening of the country's resilience is needed, she said, adding, under the direction of the NCTV and the Ministry of Defense, we will come up with a plan of action in the spring. She said shortly after taking over as minister that she had been briefed on resilience and the NATO commitments. Since that briefing, I have been with my ministry taking stock of what we need to meet those NATO commitments. We are doing that under the leadership of the NCTV. A number of ministries are involved in this. I have asked if there is an overlap between pandemic preparedness and a resilience of care, and there is. She added, you want to have the same tools as we would have had in relation to the corona crisis. Um, okay. In a post on X, Wu researcher Cees van der Boos, what is Wu researcher? Okay. Cees van der Boos responded to the admission, arguing that the pandemic was a coup d'etat. He characterized the NCTV as a puppet of NATO, just like Finland's previous Prime Minister Sanna Marin. This country will only be free if the NCTV is completely abolished. It's starting to sound like the CIA. Completely abolished, and these kinds of shadow governments never get a foothold again, he said. This is the biggest obstacle that stands in the way of a democracy, he said. He added that there is no control over the NCTV. The NCTV has a carte blanche, as had been shown during Corona. According to Van der Bos, the people who think Corona is over, let's start talking about it, are waiting for another hard reality check. We thanked Ajima for her candor. During the pandemic, NATO set guidelines for the COVID response and coordinated the STRATCOM, strategic communications. The guidelines were circulated through the member states' foreign ministers. Um, Many believe this explains why Sweden, which only joined NATO this year, was the only country in Europe to adopt a more lenient policy during the pandemic. Yeah, this is interesting because my initial reaction was, well, it's not true because Finland also joined NATO just last year. But I do think that Finland was a NATO puppet for a longer. Like I remember when 2022 or something, there was some NATO survey or research on misogyny against the Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin, and it was like Finland wasn't a NATO country yet at that point, officially. Like I was like, well, why? What does it have anything to do with NATO? How people insult our prime minister or whatever. So, anyways, earlier the leader of the Verheed, Willem Engel, had made similar revelations at his trial in Rotterdam on 22 November 2022, in which he was accused of sedition. Engel gave an extensive speech in which he showed how the government has worked to combat critics of the COVID policy. According to Engel, this involved agencies from four ministries: NCTV Justice, AIVD Interior, MIVD Defense, and PCD 19 VWS. Was that? I don't know. Anyways, they formed a crisis team that worked together with other government agencies such as the OM, mayors, and a judiciary and the media. He reported in the Underground on 27 November 2022. They are using a military method that amounts to mapping, suppressing, and disrupting. Critics from the medical world have meanwhile reacted sharply to Ajema's revelation, including medical ethicist Wendy Mittermeier. For the first time in 4 years, I hear a public admission that the NCT was in charge during the corona crisis and that it had to be carried out. It was a military operation. This was not allowed to be said for 4 years. That was a conspiracy theory. I appreciate the honesty of the minister that this is being admitted and that he was not in charge. The admission from Ajima also supports allegations made by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about the production of the COVID mRNA vaccines in the US. According to Kennedy, this was a military operation with close involvement of the US Department of Defense, DoD, and the military industrial complex. Kennedy argues that the DoD was in charge and paid pharmaceutical companies for their brand names so people would think they were getting something from Pfizer and Moderna. The minister openly stated that both COVID and the current pandemic preparedness is a military operation that has nothing to do with healthcare and in the traditional sense of the word. COVID policy is a child of NCTV and NATO, Ajima asserted. So this raises the question, like, unless they're just making stuff up. How about other European countries, other NATO countries, other EU countries? It's like this is a coup. Like they said, NCTV, um, like did a coup d'état, took control of the Dutch government during that time, and that the um, NCTV was a puppet of NATO, which NATO is controlled by the U.S. deep state, I would say. So is it basically it's an admission that United States control rules pretty much all of Europe. It's like that's understood, like for by I think by people who are in the know. Um, but it's like more black and white. This points out that yeah, that's what's going on, and so I guess all of this, wear the mask, get the jab, all of that stuff was NATO as well. Like, yeah, I do think heads should roll, and we should really look into this. Like everybody should be talking about this. Everybody should be asking their own governments, in other EU countries, like, hey, did we have anything like this? Or is this guy just lying? This woman, is she just making it up? Is she crazy? And if they say she's crazy, that is probably means that she's telling the truth, because they will tell you she's crazy if she's telling the truth. But anyways, this is tangentially related. Korean scientists claim Pfizer Moderna mRNA vaccine vials contain self-assembling nanoparticles that can form into clots. Confirming what many suspected to be the case, two Korean scientists have found that the mRNA vaccine vials from both Pfizer and BioNTech and Moderna contain self-assembling nanoparticles that form into white clots that many embalmers are discovering inside the bodies of fully vaccinated. So this is natural news. I think it's sort of like Infowars adjacent. So you can say that the source is not the most reliable, but this is like I have heard about these clots for a couple of years. I've listened to some podcasts on the matter about these embalmers supposedly finding really weird blood clots in dead bodies, and just like this is related to this. If NATO was behind this, this is like I don't know. It sounds like some really insane science fiction movie. Like maybe there's some mistakes in the narrative. Maybe there's it didn't, but it sounds like, NATO or whatever who controls NATO is behind a lot of stuff, because it doesn't really say like why was it necessary to have NATO in this and all that stuff. Okay, let's move on to the next story. So Gaza civilians not innocent, or there's this article just like just how many of Gaza's civilians are entirely innocent, quote unquote. It's New York Post. Uh, yeah, here's the article, of course archived. So yeah, it's basically saying like, oh well, yeah, you shouldn't kill civilians, and yeah, every baby and young child in Gaza is 100% innocent, but still Israel has been bombing them. Uh, but then it's sort of like, well, it's difficult to distinguish between a civilian or a combatant who is dressed like a civilian. So there's some stuff like that, but it's just like the mindset of these people. Like, just the headline is so manipulative. Like, they support genocide and stuff. That's what it is. But hey, Ireland passes motion declaring Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. That's good news. Although, like, I'm not sure if Ireland is doing it because of European sovereign ideas, or because it's been um, Islamized. Like, maybe that's the reason they are doing. But this, like, there's maybe there's like a big Muslim population who is more anti-Israel, and hey, I'm not against being anti-Israel, but it's still like, I would really like to see European sovereignty return, like, not be controlled by NATO or Muslims or Israel or any of these. Like, why is it so difficult? Okay, let's move on to the next story. This was just like a brief interlude. Oh, so pogrom in Amsterdam. Back to Holland. So Nicolas Fuentes, he made a good summary of the story, and I'm not like a fan of him or anything. It's just like I think I mostly find him funny, like both laughing with him and at him. That kind of guy. Like, he's the calm detective, but he also said the stuff about like, your body, my choice forever. I think that was hilarious. Anyway, so a group of Israeli hooligans, football hooligans, or soccer, if you're American, antagonized Muslims in Amsterdam, got slapped around for it, and now they're comparing it to the Holocaust and blaming Iran. Sounds about right. Well, I think they're calling it mostly a pogrom. It's older than the Holocaust, pogroms. But anyways, it's so yeah, supposedly, there was some, yeah, football hooligans from Israel, and they were very anti-Arab, and then the Arabs didn't like it. So like here, uh, they are see they have Israel flags here, and what's this like? I'm not sure what this flag. It has like Ukraine colors, but not sure what it is. So yeah, we will fuck you, and we will grape you and drink your blood. Yeah, and you know, if these people, and it is supposedly that they started it, so it's not like so it was a reaction, or you could call it even self-defense from the Arabs or the Muslims. But then, this Dutch politician who is supposedly, far right or something, he's a Jew hunt in Amsterdam. It is totally unacceptable that there was an insufficient police protection to prevent this violence and protect the people. The mayor of Amsterdam must resign today. And yeah, this doctor, alleged doctor, I don't know if they're really a doctor. You forgot to mention how it started, you fucking lying demon. Yeah, so finish the Arabs, they were chanting, according to this. And also Justin Trudeau um, pitched in. Turns out the news out of Amsterdam last night is horrifying. This is a dark moment for our world, and one we have seen before. My heart goes out to the victims and the entire Jewish community today. Canada condemns this disgusting anti-Semitism. It's interesting, like how seems to be this um, like a pyramid of oppression or something. Like, if native European says something bad about Muslims, they are horrible racist. But if then there's a conflict between Arabs and Jews, then the Arabs are the horrible racists. It's interesting how it goes. But yeah, so this woman Barry Weiss, I think she's like the sort of the originator of the claim that it was a pogrom. There's a pogrom unfolding right now on the streets of Amsterdam. Once again, Jews cannot walk safely through the streets of Europe. And then this woman, Amanda Gelender, says, "A pogrom? Go fuck yourself. I'm Jewish and live in the Netherlands and proud to see and complete see proud to see the complete and total rejection of fascist Nazi Zionism in our streets. There is an actual Zionist Holocaust against Palestine right now, and per usual, Zionists are committed to playing the victim." Yeah, she has a point. Like, it's a bit tired to comparing, stuff you don't like to the mustache man's ideology, but she has a point. And yeah, so here's the cop.
Supporters wordt op het rokin een vlag van de gevel gehaald.
Okay, maybe I'll
Supporters
read out the lines. So, Maccabi supporters, so that's the football team, Maccabi supporters, ripped the flag and from a building in some destroyed a taxi on Dam Square. Palestinian flag was set on fire. On the day of the match, a large group of Maccabi fans gathered in Dam Square in central Amsterdam. Some were arrested after trouble between Israeli club fans and pro-Palestine protesters, police said. Then on their way to the match, some Maccabi fans were filmed singing racist and anti-Arab songs. Let IDF win and fuck the Arabs. So according to the cop, to the Israelis started the conflict. And there's this, for a Jew, Amsterdam is Iran. I don't know what this is supposed to mean even. Does it mean that their understanding of geography is bad? I think so that they should go to school, I think, to learn more about geography. And here it says, Middle Eastern migrants continue to hunt down Jews in the streets of Amsterdam. Where are the police? Where is Europe? And then this person is replying, I am the creator of the video. You are spreading fake news. This is a group of Maccabi supporters starting a fight and beating one Dutch man. Delete this content. I didn't give you permission. I maybe I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that there are many, very loving, bleeding heart lefty Jews who want more migrants to come to Europe because they're so compassionate. But uh, I guess not. And this is not related to Dutch, but this is Israel related, so I just put it here. So supposedly, Israeli police arrested two French military personnel, gendarmes with diplomatic status in a Christian church, the Elona Church, that has officially belonged to France for 160 years and is protected by diplomatic immunity. To make things worse, the church is located in occupied East Jerusalem, theoretically Palestinian territory, and the arrests occurred as the French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot was due to visit it. He cancelled his visit due to the presence of Israeli police on site and breach of diplomatic immunity. Yet another unarguable proof that Israel respects absolutely zero rule. Yeah, so you do something to them, and they call you, all the naughtiest words in the dictionary, but they're allowed to do whatever they want. And there's this. So this was from, is it Instagram IDF? The targeted attacks against Jews and Israelis in Amsterdam tonight are horrific and barbaric. The images of the violence towards Jewish people in Europe are a painful reminder of our history. The IDF has an historic duty of protecting our people whenever they are. We are prepared to deploy a mission to rescue Israelis from Amsterdam. Read that again. The IDF is deploying a rescue mission for the Israelis being attacked in Amsterdam. So yeah, he just says Jews. He doesn't say Israeli citizens. Like, well, what does it have to do with them? Like, is let's say like an ethnic German gets attacked in China, will the German military invade China to protect them, even though they are not German citizens? Is I don't know if they did it, or maybe it's just this one person wanted it to happen or something. But it's just crazy. Like there's no sovereignty in Europe at all. It's joke, and I just I want to change things. I wish Europeans would understand the state of affairs, the plight of the European people, and stop listening to these grima worm tongues. Whether they're from Israel or from NATO or whatever. Okay, I think there's probably next story. Yeah, it's next story. Yeah, speaking of Grima worm tongue. So EU wants to regulate Twitter. Of course they do. Um, So, Robert Habeck, German Vice Chancellor and Green Party member, the regulation of algorithms of X or TikTok through the application of European legal norms is a central task. We cannot place democratic discourse in the hands of Elon Musk and Chinese software. Well, I do agree there, but also I wouldn't place democratic discourse in the hands of EU bureaucrats or politicians who are puppets of NATO or Israel or any country or any organization or country like that. So, but it's like, yeah, and they didn't care while Twitter was being run by lefties, but now once Musk has at least improved it somewhat, not that much. There's still quite a lot of censorship and stuff on Twitter, but it's better now than it used to be, at least. But let's move on to the next story. Okay, I guess now it's more entertainment stuff. So, Wicked, like the musical Wicked, toys linked to a porn site. So apparently, the package for these toys for the musical Wicked, they have Wicked.com, which is supposedly porn site, and it's from Mattel. They make Barbie and He-Man, or used to make them, at least back in my day. Um, and I've seen some people point out that companies this big don't make mistakes, and that maybe it's some weird subversive stuff, but I don't know, but they do deserve to get sued and, like, slapped hard for this, if this is, I didn't go check whether it's truly a porn site or not, and I'm not gonna do it while on stream either. But it's like, I don't know, is this stupidity or is it wickedness? Like, both are bad. And yeah, speaking of porn, then there's this best Korean men learn about porn, because there are North Korean troops in Ukraine, or maybe they're still in Russia and going to go to Ukraine. So supposedly they are getting access to porn. North Korean soldiers hooked on porn after getting internet access for the first time while helping Russia fight Ukraine. Report. So I don't know how to speak. Assuming this is true, it sort of proves North Korea right that if they cannot control themselves, that they suddenly they were deprived of porn their whole lives, and suddenly they're going overboard. Like it sort of proves them right that that to isolate themselves from the wickedness of the rest of the world. um, then again, you can say that since they've been deprived of it too much, they don't know how to handle it. Like maybe a small degree of porn is fine, because like personally, I'm not one of those people who say that uh, porn should be banned outright. Not necessarily. However, I do think that as things are right now, yeah, it is too accepted. I'm gonna put it that way. Like it's too, because I remember back in the 90s, when I was a teenager, and I used to watch the show Friends, and Joey, one of the characters, he had like his porn collection, and he was just speaking in front of the other characters openly about his porn collection. And I knew that adult men back in the day, and back in those days, it made porn magazines or VHS tapes. But anyways, I knew that adult men usually have their porn collections, but also I thought that you were sort of ashamed of it. Um, but he was just talking about it openly. So already back in the 90s, I guess that was probably mid 90s. Maybe Tyler Durden printed these Barbie boxes. Good point. Yeah, it could be something like that. That should be sort of funny. Yeah, he did do something like that in Fight Club with the movie theater. Um, Now I lost my train of thought, but I guess it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, just you know. So yeah, I do think that porn shouldn't be. There should certainly be a degree of shame about it, but I'm not saying I don't think that it's good either that the Gestapo or the Inquisition will kick down your door and check your hard drive, whether you have porn there. I wouldn't go that far either, but there's is it one more story? No, two more stories. Okay, Nintendo is going insane with their legal lawsuits. So in a Neon from Clownfish comments, I love Nintendo games, but their legal is batshit insane. In a new Nintendo lawsuit, they now claim that they can sue people just for playing Switch games in an emulator. It doesn't matter where you got them, because unless there's been some drastic change in the laws in recent years, but it is legal to play games on an emulator. It's just like if you acquire the ROM for the game illegally, then it's illegal. But and in practice, probably most games that are played on emulators are illegal. I'm not saying it's immoral, but it's probably illegal. But technically, you could like buy a Switch game and then somehow copy it onto your hard drive and then use an emulator to play it. So if this is what they're doing, is completely insane, like Neon points out, because yeah, it's what the fuck are they thinking? Like I'm really starting to hate Nintendo more than Sony. Yeah, I also like Nintendo games. Not the biggest Nintendo fan ever, but generally speaking, sure, I like Nintendo. But I don't like this kind of stuff, or like the Pal World stuff. I'm not a Pal World fan either. I've never played it. It seems interesting, but I haven't played it. But I just, I think developers should be allowed to invent, like, steal some ideas from games, from other games that have been successful to make even better games. But let's move to the last story, and that is Kingdom Come 2 Deliverance removes the NWO. So this is good news. I did report on it that just a few weeks ago that Kingdom Come 2 Deliverance, or Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, was supposed to have the NWO, and now I guess because lots of people bitched about it, they're removing de novo, and that's great news. I want to support this game. I have the first game on my Steam account, but I haven't gotten around to playing it. But now it's like, oh, okay, maybe I should play the first one first, and then the when the second one comes out, might be worth checking out too, because this is great news. But hey, that's the last story of the week. So yeah, the main two stories for the week, of course, are the Trump victory, and yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen with it. Like the options are up in the air very much with what's gonna happen with United States and the rest of left. Oh, yeah, my tongue is falling off. The rest of the world, and of course the story, the news about from Netherlands about NATO, or rather COVID being a NATO military operation. It's like I would really like to have clarification. What does it mean that COVID was allegedly a military operation? Like, what does it mean exactly? Was it a psychological operation? Was it a defensive operation, offensive operation, and offensive against whom? Was it like, the West versus China, or was it like the Western elites against the Western regular people? Like, what was going on? Like, yeah, military operations. Historically speaking, they was usually against somebody, like Rome against the Gauls, or against Carthage, or the 19 Germany versus England in the 1940s or whatever. And it's like, so what sort of, against whom was the military operation of COVID, if it in fact was one? I guess that's the biggest question, and why. But yeah, that's it for the week, for the news. This was probably the heaviest news week, biggest golden news so far. I've done it for 2 or 3 months only, so it's. But yeah, there was a lot. There were some stories that I initially thought about talking about, but because there was already so much material, simply the U.S. election, there were so many different tangents to the story, and I had just had to pick a few. And of course, the COVID stuff. And but yeah, that's it. I'm Adventure Argonaut. I thank you for watching, and please pay attention to the the COVID stuff. I think that's the implications are just mind blowing to me. Bye bye. Our political views seem to be aligned with each other, if you're wondering. Oh, nice to hear H and double hertz. I sort of thought so, because you've been sticking around with me so long. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for participating, and gotta head out, eat something. Bye bye.